Welcome to the Simply Mindful Wellness Podcast. Join your host, Tracy, as she takes a deeper look into nourishing your body, mind, and soul. Because being well creates the freedom to live life the way you want.
So hello and welcome to the Simply Mindful Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Richardson, therapist, wellness practitioner, educator and author, helping people to remove their blocks to healing, improve their wellness and feel their best. So welcome to the watchers and listeners. Today I'm joined by Helen Pinkett from helenpinkett.com, an energy and mindset coach, and we're going to be talking about spiritual energy and healing. So welcome, how are you today?
Hi, Tracy. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. I'm very well, feel great. It's Friday. It's been a great week. So it is a lovely way to round off a fabulous week. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming on. So there's so much that we know we can do to support ourselves. But like with everything, that can just lead to overwhelm and information overload and so on. So hopefully today we're going to look at what we can do to kind of move forwards with that with a bit of clarity and a bit of confidence. So if we can start then by if you introduce yourself and share with the watchers and the listeners who you are, what you do and why you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So I'm an energy and mindset intuitive coach, but underneath that umbrella, I actually do so many different things. Like a lot of us therapists and healers, we learn lots of different modalities. So I'm an energy healer. So I help to identify, clear and release blocks, self-sabotage, fears, the old stories, patterns and cycles that people come across when they're trying to move forwards with their lives. So I particularly work with women in business because I found that the business journey is one hell of a personal development journey. So as soon as you start working for yourself, you have to put yourself out there, sell yourself, you have to market yourself, you have to have unwavering confidence and clarity in what you're doing. So I do tend to work with women in business, but however, I do have clients that come to me for personal issues because, you know, let's be honest, these blocks and fears can affect us in so many different ways throughout our lives. And when we do the inner work, it has a huge effect on every single level. So I work energetically, but I work with the conscious and the subconscious because there's no point doing the energy work if you're not doing the mindset work with it as well. So people come to me for coaching and energy healing, and I use several different modalities, and no two sessions are the same. Because I work very intuitively, I feel into what feels right for each client. So sometimes we might just talk. Sometimes I might do 2 or 3 different things. Like I might do EFT, we might do a channeled energy clearing or energy editing. So it's whatever comes through. I also bring in card readings. I do pendulum work as well. So that's what I love, is being able to have a large toolbox of skills that I can use. And I'm super passionate because I've used energy healing to transform my life. It's had a huge effect on me. I used to suffer from anxiety and panic attacks, and I very much used a natural route to deal with that, and I've come through it so much stronger on the other side. And I continue to do the inner work for myself. It's once you're on this path, it's never ending, the never ending journey of healing. You peel one layer and then there's another layer and another layer. So I'm deep on that journey myself. And then what I learn, I can help with my clients as well. So a bit of a long story there.
Absolutely. So it's like a journey from like anxiety to success through the world of energy healing and self-transformation. So
Yeah.
how did you get into working with energy? How did you start off with your journey?
So, I mean, I guess in my teenage years, so it's very much a spiritual journey for me. In my teenage years, I always was drawn to tarot cards and crystals and angels and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It was just a natural pull for me. Throughout my 20s, I kind of shut that down a little bit. And then when I had my son and then I started suffering with the anxiety and panic attacks, I was just drawn to having Reiki and, you know, reading all doing the mindset work to try and help my way through it. And then I came across a modality called energy editing. And it was one of those things that I was like, yes, you know, when you get that pull, it was this pull of, this is what I knew that I needed to use my gifts. I knew that I needed to train and get some qualifications in some kind of energy healing, and I started having energy editing with my with this one lady, and I just was like, I absolutely have to do this. This is the one for me. And then she, this lady, Michelle Lowbridge, she also does a modality called the ease method. So I just did lots of different trainings with this lady, and then I've also trained in gamma mindset. And I just pulled them all together. So now I have lots of, and I still continue to do courses as well. I'm doing an accreditation in human design. I'm very much interested in astrology as well. So all these different strands. I'm a generator in human design, which means I get very lit up by things. So as soon as something lights me up and I get that hell yes response, I follow it. So that's why I've ended up with so many things in my business, but I'm not afraid to let things go either when they're not aligned.
Oh, so, I totally get that. I'm an emotional manifesting generator, and 6-1. So
right, yeah.
So I recently found out about all this human design stuff, and when you read like about the descriptions of it, it's like, wow, that is so me.
Yes. Oh, it blows my mind. I've just finished a 7-month mastermind in it, and there's so many layers to it. It's just and it's a huge experiment, which is so interesting. So I finished that. Today we have the celebratory ending party, and then Monday I start an accreditation in human design for business. So when I'm working with clients who have their own businesses, I can look at their human design and help them to run their business in a way that fits them, because it's been the same. Maybe you find this as well, Tracy, that we hit burnout quite easily and overwhelmed because we're trying to do all of the things. But when we work with our human design, we can then build that into running a successful business based on our energy type. It's fascinating.
Oh no, absolutely, totally get that. I'm one of these like go all out and then need to rest like for long periods of time. Like I love being around people and the vibe and the energy, but then I don't like to see anyone for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because that's I'm a 5-2, and the 2 is that energy, the hermit. So whilst I love socializing and being around people, because I'm very sensitive, I'm an empath, I'm very sensitive to energy, I do love my time on my own as well. So I think that's a generator thing, obviously, as well, because we like get fired up, we go and do all of the things, but then we have to retreat and we have to look after our energy. Otherwise, that burnout, overwhelm kicks in, and then we're not good for anything. So we've got to listen to our bodies and our energy as well.
Absolutely. So what exactly does a spiritual mentor do then? Because this is obviously part of your journey as well.
Yeah, so as a spiritual mentor, I very much use my own experiences to support people. So my learning journey, my personal development journey there's been a lot of healing. There's been a lot of things in my life which I've needed to look at and work through and release. And so I bring those experiences into supporting others. So I've had many dark nights of the soul. So when I've been through feeling absolutely confused, like I'm going crazy, that deep transformation when we are losing our old self. So there's several different ways you can look at that deep evolving transformation, letting go of who you are at that time, that ego death, and changing. And it can be absolutely terrifying. Things that you're suddenly waking up and seeing things through different eyes. Everything feels different, things feel uncomfortable. Certainly for me, the last couple of years, I've been through another massive transformation where I've had to make some very, very difficult decisions, but I've come through the other side. So I can help people to make those life changes and understand kind of what's happening to them. So that's one side of thing. But then another side of thing is waking up to your spiritual gifts. So when you start seeing spirit, when you're hearing it, when you're getting woken up at night by someone calling your name, and you can feel energy in a different way. So that's another stage of spiritual awakening, and that can be quite frightening, because I'd wake up in the night and I'd have this sense of, I know that there's lots of things stood around me, okay, and I'm kind of used to that, and seeing spirit kind of wander in my house, that can be a bit unsettling to begin with. So and also that when you're becoming very sensitive to energy, looking after yourself as an empath, that's a huge thing. I work with a lot of empaths because that's a tough one to work out. And I'm not saying that I'm an complete expert in all of this, but certainly my experiences can help others on this path as well. Because when you suddenly think, oh, hang on, something's happening within me, something's changing, it can be lonely and scary. So I'm here to kind of just guide people through on that journey.
Awesome. So absolutely, it can be very overwhelming at points when you're going through something, but you don't quite understand why, because no one gives you a manual, no one gives you a roadmap or a framework for life, and we're all living our own individual experiences. So speaking to somebody with that experience who's been through something similar can be so valuable in periods of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I set up the Inspired Souls community as well. I have a Facebook group for people who are awakening or already fully fledged, full on deep into their spiritual journey, because it can be quite challenging. If you've got family members who aren't on board or don't understand, that can be lonely too. So I have a Facebook group with lots of like-minded people in there. So I believe connection and community are really up there with my values, high up on my values list. I think it's so important that we're able to connect with others. So my mission is to connect with, but also support others in connecting with like-minded souls as well.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about this connection and how the mindset kind of influences people and how they can grow and transform through this process.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm a great believer in, positivity and having a strong mindset and working on our mindset. So, and I found it's certainly through working on mine, it makes you more resilient, and it gives you, when you do come up against challenges, you can see things in a different light. Haven't always been this. When I was suffering with anxiety, it was terrifying. Panic attacks all day, like 2 years. I didn't know what was happening with me because I'd always been quite positive beforehand. Not really had come across anything like this. So after, that episode, I threw myself into books, reading all of the mindset books. I have a really strong morning routine, which all builds into my mindset. I do things like journaling, daily meditation. I do my own energy work every day. I do EFT tapping. Just to keep my, keep that mindset strong. And it is so important. Yeah. Tap every day in my journal. Like, what should I tap on today? And throughout the day, I just find myself going like this. If I, need to think about something, I just do some clearing. So powerful and so quick and so easy as well. If anyone comes to me and says anything, says about anxiety, first thing I say, try looking up, doing some tapping with Brad Yates online, because he's awesome. So yeah, the strength of a mindset is really important, and I really believe that this should be taught in schools for children.
Absolutely. I think these skills, maybe they were passed down generations ago, but certainly something that has been lost in translation, that is so simple. And like you're saying, with something like anxiety, that people do worry about things a lot, especially over the last couple of years. And I think children worrying a little bit more than they certainly were when we were young. And
I agree.
Something like that to build up their resilience and say, it's okay. What a skill to have. So what are your main observations then with the clients and the people that you work with? Is it all to do with the anxious side and the mindset affecting them, or is there the physical affecting the mindset, or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, so it's mainly the mindset. So when people feel stuck, so no one's actually ever really stuck, but that feeling of being stuck, but actually what it is self-sabotage. It's actually those fears dropping in. And I have this happen to me all the time. So I'm working through this constantly myself. So my clients come to me mainly because they just feel like they're lacking in direction. And sometimes we get to that point, we hit rock bottom before we go up. So they come to me because they're feeling lacking in direction. They feel this stuckness. they're not sure which way to which way to go, and they just want some support in moving through that, finding their clarity, finding confidence. But also people who want to step into their power. And I know that's a bit of an overused phrase, shall I say, but it's, I know certainly I reached a point in my life where I wanted more. I knew that there was more. But how do you go about doing that when all of a sudden you've got these fears and these blocks? So I'm there to really boost people up, to really find that light inside, and to amplify it, activate it, turn it up, turn it on, and shine bright, to really boost the confidence. And I do that through the energy healing. It's such a powerful, it's so powerful. Our energy holds so much stuff. We have our energy fields, our chakras, meridian lines, and in that energy is all the old stories, the fears, ancestral stuff that's been passed down, and of course the all important 0 to 7 years of our lives where we've been fed different stories from our parents. I always talk about money mindset. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money's the root of all evil. I mean, certainly money mindset's been a huge thing for me to work on. And now I hear my parents talk about money, and I'm like, oh, like, no wonder I've had so much to do on that.
Absolutely. And I think what you were saying is, like, we're put into this container, and like, you should be in this container, but actually we're designed to live in abundance. We're designed to live with the laws of nature and energy and so on. And actually, like you say, that 0 to 7 period is just so profound for development of children, and that shapes life. But when you then look back through the ancestral side of stuff, as you were saying, through the cellular function and things like that, it's just like the metaphysical level is just totally mind-blowing.
It really
I'm totally on board with what you're saying here.
Yeah.
So do you find that that's a huge misconception then for the people that you work with, is like they have to be constrained within the strictures or structures that they've been led to believe, and actually there's a whole big world out there?
Yeah. So most of my clients come to me because they are open-minded already. So they know that they know that they're stuck. They know that there's something more out there. So, but I encounter people on a daily basis who are still, who don't get the concept of energy or, mindset, and are just completely closed, or maybe they just haven't encountered it yet. They don't know.
I mean, I disconnect.
Yes, completely. Yeah. And for me, a massive game changing point was reading 2 books, and you might know these, Tracy. In fact, I'm sure you do. One was the chimp. What's it called? I've forgotten the name of it now. The chimp paradox. Yes. I talk about this all the time. Went out of my mind. The chimp paradox. Reading that blew my mind, because that really helped me to understand about the human mind, the monkey mind, and all of that stuff that was going on. That really helped with the anxiety. And The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. So reading those 2 books at pretty much the same time was like a light bulb. It's like, whoa, what is this? The law of attraction. And we are actually in so much more control than we know, and that we're creating our reality all of the time. And that really sent me on the path. Those 2 books, I had to go back and read them both again several times, because I was like, what's this law of attraction? Right, okay, how do I do it? And then I kept trying to do it. But now I find I can manifest pretty easily, because it's just naturally occurring, and I understand it a lot more. But yeah, a lot of people still aren't there yet, but that's fine. They'll get there. So my clients tend to come to me because they've got an idea. They're open-minded, at least, to explore.
Awesome. Yeah. So like you were saying, I think everybody's on their different journeys, different points. There's no rights or wrongs, but once you get into that mindset, that alignment of actually, I have a choice, because we're led to believe that we just don't have choice in so many things, but actually we do have a choice. It may only be a limited choice in some circumstances, but those choices that we make then shape what we manifest, or how we bring about our futures. And I think we could all look back over our lives and look at some of the choices and decisions that we've made, and, you know, like,
Yep.
hindsight is a wonderful thing. But actually,
Yeah.
if we can now go forward with that in the forefront of what we're doing, we can actually bring about change. And what I love about what you're doing is that you work with energy. So for me, energy is everything. It doesn't dissipate, just transforms itself. And we can just work with that. We can use the energy of thought to bring things about. And when you say this to people who like you say, are open-minded, they get it. When you say this to people who have not come across it before, who are not open-minded, so I think of, you know, family members.
Yeah, I was going to say
specifically, they look at me like I've got 3 heads.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And it's a really difficult, it's like speaking Japanese to a French person. It's like different levels of translation.
Yeah.
But we're not designed, I don't think, to speak the same language to everyone. And I think you find the people that you know are aligned with you for sure. So speaking of like alignment, you not only work with clients, you also work with like-minded practitioners. So tell us a little bit about how that works.
Oh wow! So I run. I do. See, I'm getting really excited just thinking about it. Oh, what do I do? What should I start with first? So I run my events, which host practitioners, therapists. They're called Be Well events, but I'm actually changing it now to Inspired Souls, so it's under the umbrella of my everything else that I do. And they're open days for people to come in and explore natural health, energy healing. I have psychic readers there. We have talks and workshops going on throughout the day, like EFT testers, breath work. Sometimes we might have yoga. And so that brings people together to be able to, for the business, for the practitioners, for the business owners to be able to promote their business, but also people to come in and explore and experiment and connect and learn and grow. And it's just such a lovely space to be in, because like we say, people who speak the same language, it's nice for everyone to be in that space when we can talk about all the weird and wonderful and woo stuff and no one bats an eyelid.
Absolutely, it's like a normal everyday occurrence. So like to some of the people watching and listening this, they will totally be on board with what we're saying, but there will be other people that it's a little bit newer to them. So how could we how can we say how can we talk about energy to somebody who's never experienced it before? How does it feel?
So wow, I think firstly with sensing energy is being actually really connected to yourself. So I would reckon if anyone was interested in finding out more about it, it's actually reconnecting, meditating, and just slowing down actually and getting connected to their own intuition. So I found that the more connected I am to myself, the more I can feel others. I certainly become more sensitive. But I would, recommend learning, definitely reading up the books like The Secret, and just feeling into it. You see, it's difficult for me to say because it's very like normal to me. I'm like rewinding my brain. How did I feel into energy? I think it's always been there. I've always been an intuitive person. I would recommend trying out a treatment like Reiki, because you really feel it when someone else gives you some kind of energy healing, and see how you feel before and after in the coming days. I know because I'm always seeing energy healers, the difference when I have the shift. So when I say the shift, I mean your energy suddenly feels more expanded. I feel open. I always feel more lifted. So energy changes all the time. It's constantly changing, and we can change like that. And we actually have the power to change it with the thought. So my feeling is to be more connected to yourself, be more connected to how you feel and how different environments can make you feel. Like walking into a room, if you walk into a room where there's just been an argument, or or you're around someone who's very negative, you feel that vibe. Exactly. If you're around somebody that is very high vibrational, when I say high vibrational, I mean positive, good energy, you feel that it is, it's contagious. So you may
just
be
want to
able
be
to,
around it more and more, don't you? You want to be part of that vibe, and you never want to leave.
exactly. Well, you have those friends that you go and see, and you just have an amazing time with, and you leave feeling uplifted, you feel happy, you feel energized, you feel amazing. And then you may have some friends or family members that you're around, and you leave and you feel drained, and you feel tired and negative and maybe grumpy. That's how energy works. We can pick up on it. So I would suggest to anybody who's listening, who's curious, is to really take note of how they're feeling around different people, because they're probably feeling it already, but maybe not thought, oh, hang on a minute, this is how energy works.
It is exactly like you said. You walk into a room and it's like draining the life, sucking the life out of you,
Yeah.
and you feel dreadful. And I sometimes have to go home and have a little lie down to recover my energy. But those times where you're like vibing high, it's like a party atmosphere, even though it's not a party. It could just be walking into, I don't know, an event or a healer's clinic room or something like that, and you just feel good to be around that person.
Oh, completely. Don't you love that? And you'll see certain people gravitated to certain people or places. When I first started sort of going to networking events years ago, I used to, like yourself, I need to come home, and I'd be buzzing, so I'd be wired, but I'd be drained, and I'd be headachy, and I'd be all of the things. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. This feels really uncomfortable. And then as I've gone further and further onto my journey, I know about protecting my energy and doing what feels good. So going back to what we were saying, staying in alignment, what feels good and right for us. If it's lighting us up, keep doing it. If it doesn't light us up anymore, don't do it anymore. And I've become quite ruthless over the past few years. I've sold businesses, I've let things go, because it needs to be 100% in alignment. And that also boosts your positive energy, keeps you feeling good. Because if we're doing things that aren't lighting us up or aren't, or draining us, making us feel tired, then overall our vibration is going to be low. It's going to be lowered.
Absolutely. And who doesn't want to feel good? And I think with the state of the world in the last couple of years, there's a lot that is out there that can drain us and bring us down if we allow it to. But it's like you saying, it's like about that choice. So I always liken it to, you've had them mornings where you wake up and you feel good, and then you stub your toe.
Yeah.
And that can either be the making or breaking of your day. Yes. So you can either go, right, it's 10 seconds of my whole day, 1,440 minutes, and I'm done with it after that 10 seconds. Or it's like, and then there's no milk. And then, I need to get fuel and I'm late. And it's like a cycle of things. But the choice thing is huge.
Yes.
So what's your top tip, or what's your go-to then for somebody to support themselves when they're working on their own energy?
So I would, several things are coming to my mind now. So supporting energy, I always like to have a good start in the morning. Now I often talk about morning routines. So I'm an early bird. I do go to bed early though. So I always used to say to people, get up early, have a strong morning routine. I don't say that anymore now. I say, find what works best for you. Go with your own rhythm. Some people are evening people, some people are morning people. Personally, I'm a morning person. So my alarm goes off at 5:30 every day. I get up, I like to journal. I have my green tea or my hot water and lemon. I use my Healy frequency healing machine. So I send myself frequency to balance my chakras and get myself off to a good start. I do EFT tapping after I've done the journaling to see what comes up. I pull myself some angel cards. And I've been doing this kind of routine for several years now. It just gives me peace in the morning. It gives me a really grounded start. I like to meditate as well, but I'm flexible with the routine as well. Sometimes I go in and out of things. I may bring something new in, I may drop something for a little while. So I used to be very strict on this routine, but now I've learned to become a lot more flexible, because when we're strict about things and we're pushing and we've got to do it, that's pushing, driving energy, which is not always the best. So I would definitely recommend looking at a morning routine. just checking in with yourself throughout the day. So taking moments to stop, your hand on your heart, and just breathe for a few moments, taking time out to just stay connected. What feels good? Are we pushing ourselves? Are we doing too much? Are we pushing ourselves in, to do things that we don't want to do? How are our boundaries? Boundaries, yes. How are our boundaries? Are we saying yes to too much? Are we allowing people to suck on our energy, take and drain our energy? Are we surrounding ourselves with enough of the good things? And most importantly, we've got to do things that make us happy. We've got to have fun and enjoyment in our lives.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, definitely fun. But yeah, no is such a powerful word that actually people feel so bad about saying no to a lot of things that they become that yes person. They feel so drained and they can't understand why. Whereas actually, if you turn around and you're not going to enjoy doing something, and it's not a life or death situation, just say no, see how you feel.
Exactly. Once you start saying it, it becomes quite powerful, because it's, no, it's fine. Nothing bad's going to happen.
And it can be a loving boundary. It doesn't have to be like a defensive boundary.
Exactly. Absolutely. It's not a no off. It's just a no. This is, and actually, when you have those stronger boundaries, you actually have better relationships with people because they know your boundaries, and that can make for stronger mutual relationships then.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. So where can people find out more about you then? Where can they see you hanging out online?
Oh, well, I'm everywhere. I used to be a social media manager, so posting on social media is just very much in my blood, if you like, now. So you can find me. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on my personal page. I'm on Instagram at the _ Helen _ Pinkett, I think. Or you can join my Facebook group. So it's a free Facebook community. I post lots of spiritual memes and spiritual stuff and positivity in there. So that's called the Inspired Souls. Or you can join my Facebook group if you're a business owner, which is the Inspired Souls Business Circle, where I also run a monthly gathering, which is just beautiful.
Amazing. So I'll also put those links into the show notes. And last question then, which I ask also all my guests: what does mindful wellness mean to you?
Mindful wellness is self-care and self-love, and really loving yourself, really looking after yourself. This is more than just a bar of chocolate and a hot bubble bath. This is doing the deep inner work. Self-care is not selfish. Self-love is really important. And I think that everybody needs to be loving themselves a little bit more, doing the work, putting themselves first, and finding the joy in everything that they do.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely love that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Helen. And for those of you watching and listening, if you want to find out more about Helen, then take a look at our show notes.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm feeling very high vibrational now because of all the energy talk.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Simply Mindful Wellness podcast. Join us next time for a new episode.